I had planned out for this segment, since it kind of came up naturally. What is I guess the mindset going into this first bye week after 2 games, technically week 2 for everybody else. So pretty much everybody else is getting rolling, and you kind of get to sit back and watch while everybody plays their second game.
Yeah, I mean, again, with the week 0, everything was accelerated this year. We got all the guys back on campus May 23rd, I believe, for summer workouts, and then we reported for camp on July 23rd. So everything was a little unique in terms of the timing. Everything was accelerated. So the mindset is really right now we need to just get healthy, focus on the fundamentals. We'll take a little bit off of the physical load. Focus on the fundamentals of who we are, identity-wise on all 3 phases, and then obviously introduce the game plan for UTSA. We've pretty much got all of our base game plan, our open field stuff done, so we get a week ahead on UTSA. But again, probably the most beneficial thing is for us to get our legs back underneath us, because we're a little bit banged up on both sides of the ball right now.
Yeah, for sure. And you kind of touched on it, but where I really wanted to start off in this segment is the offseason. That's where a lot of the rosters made, and this is that ever-changing world of the transfer portal. Sometimes you lose players, but you really kept a lot of your impact players around this year. Could we start about just how it is in this world as a head coach to operate with this sort of freedom of movement for these players?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely never ends. It's a constant recruiting battle. No matter what the position is or what time of the year it is, you're always recruiting 24/7, 365, that's for sure. And we were able to keep a good amount of players. We also lost a good amount of impact players. I think we lost 8 guys. 7 of them went to the Power 4 ranks. So again, it's a revolving door, and it's one of those things where you have to swim with the current. You can't swim against it. The transfer portal is here to stay, and players have a ton of fluidity and autonomy to do what they think is best for them. So you always got to be on your toes and be ready to fit a roster that can be competitive and win football games.
Now, last year we had a couple new rules introduced, but so far, if I'm not mistaken, maybe you can enlighten me, the only real new rule is at the FCS level now, quarterbacks can have communications in their helmets. So is that a dynamic that y'all take advantage of, and is that something that maybe you have a little fun with when you need to? Like if Richard Torres needs a joke to kind of lighten the mood, do you have a little joke that you drop? Are you all business? What's that dynamic like?
Yeah, I mean, the past couple of weeks, I don't know if there's been very many jokes. Some people might laugh at it, but it was probably colorful language over the past couple of weeks. But it's definitely gotten into a rhythm. He can't talk back to me, which is probably a good thing. But no, it's definitely something that we've utilized. It's something that we had to get used to over the course of the spring and fall camp. But it's a benefit, because we can communicate with those guys up until about 15 seconds in the play clock. So there's some pre-snap things that we can talk about. And it helps our operation. So,
when you say that you can't talk to them up to 15 seconds, is that like a software thing built in? It cuts off.
Yeah. So whoever the operator is cuts it off at 15 seconds. So, we still have the underlying signaler. So if it does get to 15 seconds, we've trained him to where he gets his eyes back, and we kind of have our coding to where we will signal what we want to do if there's any more pre-snap communication that's necessary.
Great. One of the things that also comes into the offseason is forming your coaching staff. We talked about the roster, but a little bit different of a look, perhaps. Sometimes I just need to refresh my memory. But you have 2 offensive coordinators this year with Kenny Hill and Nick Young. And if I'm not mistaken, you're also calling the plays. So you have a trio of people there on the offensive side of the ball. What's that dynamic like?
Yeah, it's definitely different. In the past, it's been me and Connor that have kind of holistically put the game plan together. And then executed it. Obviously, Connor went to the Raiders. I also lost my special teams coordinator. Blair Cavanaugh was at UIW from 2022 to 2024. He went to University of Ohio, so I got a new special teams coordinator as well. But ended up giving the co-offensive coordinator titles to Nick Young and Kenny Hill, guys that have been around and kind of know the system. So the operation is a little bit different, but in the end, it's the same. There's one play caller. And we formulate a game plan that we think is going to be successful, and then we go try to execute it with our players. What's
that like on your end, being the head coach? Then as a play caller, I love playing Madden, so I kind of get where you're coming from, but it's obviously different. You're not on the sticks. You're controlling people. Yeah, it's definitely. I got a lot of hats that I wear. You go from being the head coach, the motivator, the overall game planner on all 3 phases.
hold them accountable. You create the culture. You make sure that the culture is a day-to-day operation that's fluid. And then you got to go and put your offensive coordinator hat on, yeah, there's a lot of hats to wear, that's for sure. But it's a great job. It's a rewarding job. We got really, really good people in the building that help make my job easier.
So one of the kind of conversations there is when you have somebody who's up at the higher level in the coaches' boxes communicating to you down the field, what kind of, like, I guess, dictation does that have in maybe what they can see versus what you can see field level, and then how you call your play in that communication?
Yeah, well, we put a ton of time and effort into our game planning. Prior to we getting to game day. So there's different points that we have communication about on game day. Nick Young is up in the box. So he is my co-offensive coordinator that's up in the box. So we do a ton of game planning. Obviously, he's the offensive line coach as well. So there's a lot of things schematically in the run game, in the pressures that they bring and how we pick up protections and things like that, that we communicate on. But for the most part, we do a really good job of preparing. And obviously it's a lot different preparing in the second game than the first game because guys have been working on things for 9 months. But yeah, I mean, the operation is fairly same and it's fairly fluid right now.
Absolutely. Going to your defensive side of the ball, you have co-defensive coordinators on that side with Ben Olsen and Jim Gush. Could you just talk about what it's like on the defensive side?
Yeah.
And another thing that I noted was that George Sanders and Ben Olsen are also your pass game and your run game coordinators.
Yeah.
And I think some people might think that would be something involved with the offensive coordinator side. So what's going on with the defensive dynamic of the coaching staff?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, we haven't had any kind of turnover on the defensive side. My staff has pretty much stayed intact since 2023, so the communication and the operation necessarily hasn't changed very much. Obviously, those guys have gotten better and better in their roles as the years have come on, so we've put a little bit more work or a little bit more ownership on those guys in terms of the game planning and the recruiting and the preparation of things. But at the same point in time, I mean, Jim Gush kind of runs the show over there, and their operation is what it is. A lot of that is those guys doing a good job and elevating in their roles.
Now, we went through a lot of guys. We have Cheese out here, by the way. Yeah. So on your staff, who all did we not mention that plays important parts? I'm sure everybody does, but anybody specific you want to kind of give a shout out that maybe we didn't mention?
Yeah, I mean, top to bottom, I mean, all those guys are extremely important. From Cheese to Taylor Grimes, Shane Creamer, Dalton Meyer, Braden Strauss. I mean, Diego Martinez does a great job in terms of the equipment. Sal Cervantes has done a great job. He's the Associate Athletic Director for Sports Medicine, but he's also been our full-time AT athletic trainer for football. So there's a lot of people in that building that are wearing a ton of different hats. Yeah, wearing a ton of different hats and doing a heck of a job doing it. So it's remarkable what we've been able to do and what we're going to continue to do at this place. But again, I've always said that Incarnate Word is special because we've had really special people that work their tails off and take pride in what they do. So.
Yeah, I appreciate you letting us see a little bit behind the curtain there on what happens, with the football team and all the coaches and their responsibilities. When we come back, we're going to talk about the victory over Eastern Washington State and get into some of the good stuff there that happened at Benson Stadium on Saturday night. So we'll step aside from Pizza Classics and on YouTube here. We'll be back in a moment.
If sweat is your body's natural way of cooling itself down, then condensation is a beer's natural way of saying, drink me. Michelob Ultra, superior light beer.
All right, welcome back here to the UIW Coaches Show with Clint Killough. I'm Carl Schoening, and happy y'all joined us at Pizza Classics. Coach, I thought that you actually were going back to help out in the kitchen, but you were stopping over by the restroom. But obviously, just not too far off campus, nice pizza. But my favorite part is they have Main Root soda, so That's what I'm sipping on because it's nice. And also, Michelob is out here. Bud Light sponsoring the show. We're happy that everybody could make it out here to the first coaches show. But perhaps the biggest thing that you want to talk about, I'm sure, is the victory over Eastern Washington on Saturday night, 31-21. You never trailed. And I think the best stat that I'm going to throw out here is you improved to 24-1 at home since the 2021 season.
Yeah.
So we could start there. What makes Benson Stadium so special?
It's one of a kind, that's for sure. I think that there is a degree of it takes the energy out of opponents. It's such a unique place that really you could drive by 281 and not even know it's there. To be totally honest with you, it's a little bit of home field advantage. Other than that, though, I think our guys are just comfortable. Obviously you don't have to go anywhere. All of our guys live on campus; they don't live off campus, so it's a short trip. They get good rest the night before, and then. Like we went to Nichols, and I mean, that's an 8-9 hour bus ride. That's the day before the game. And then we got to wake up at 5 a.m. Saturday morning and then go prep for a game. Whereas in San Antonio, we can kind of be on our time and get up and execute a game plan.
And execute a game plan you did. Richard Torres went 27 of 38 for 332 yards and a touchdown in the air, no picks. Can we talk about Richard Torres' performance in his start at Benson?
Yeah, no, I thought Richie played really well, responded well from week one. He operated, he stayed on schedule, made good decisions in the RPO game, and they got through his progressions in terms of all of our down the field passes. And then he operated the tempo well. I thought that's one thing that we didn't really do a good job of week one is operationally executing our tempo because that's been a weapon for us for a long time. And when we don't do that and when that results in pre-snap penalties, it's never good for our football team because we can't get in a rhythm. So the way that he kind of ran the show and drove the car, per se, allowed us to get into a rhythm early and allowed us to kind of flow.
And for those of you that haven't seen Cardinals football, I wonder why you're watching this show, but you guys do have such a fast-paced, high-powered offense. How much work does that go into just communicating? So we were talking, Brandon Richard was actually on the broadcast replay, and that's such a tough job because you have to queue up the replay and try and get it in before your next snap. So, he did a good job, but you kind of make it hard on the replay operator, a former player of yours. Yeah,
no doubt. There's even a couple of clips from the wide angle that we don't have on DV Sport, which is a good thing. That tells me that we're going fast. But again, it's a weapon for us, to be able to go tempo, to make the game plan simplistic enough to where those guys can operate and they can execute at a high-speed level and be physical and violent in what they're doing and confident in what they're doing. Is hard for teams to keep up with, and it gives us an advantage. And again, that was probably the biggest difference is our operation and our execution in that world from week 1 to week 2.
I want to stay on the offensive side of the ball. You came in pretty much as a receivers coach, so I got to ask you, where did Jamison Garcia pick up his breakout game of 6 catches for 146 yards and that 75-yard touchdown pass?
Yeah, well, Jamison has a superpower. That's his feet. I mean, he can run. He's always kind of had that. He's kind of had to bring the other dynamics of his game up to par in terms of matching his speed. Jamison's actually the last high school receiver that I signed as a position coach in 2022. So he's kind of done it the right way. He's developed over the last couple of years. Jalen Walthall obviously didn't play last week, so he kind of got an opportunity because of that, and he took full advantage. And I'm proud as heck of that kid. We had a good conversation afterwards, a little bit emotional, but I'm proud of him because he did it the right way. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows when you're a college football player, especially when you're not getting the football thrown to you and you're not having the success and you have people, whether it be your family or people back home, wondering why you're not putting numbers up and you're not on social media and people aren't talking about you and all those things. So in this day and age when a lot of kids jump ship and take the easy road out, JMO's kind of put his head down and just worked and took in the coaching and took in the development. And obviously he proved that he can be a weapon for us, which is huge.
What did you think about the flag he drew, celebrating his first collegiate touchdown? I get the feeling you were okay with it.
Yeah, I told him don't worry about it. I said some other things, but we're not going to repeat this.
Fair enough. Yeah. But, we talk about the great stuff on the offensive side. Defense played stellar as well, and both turnovers that they forced came at very good times when the Eagles were marching down the field.
Yeah, no, obviously Coach Gush does a tremendous job on that side of getting those guys prepared. I also think they play really hard. And Coach Gush does a great job of keeping it simplistic, allowing those guys to get lined up. Eastern Washington was an offense, obviously, that we were not concerned with, but we were very aware that they were could be potent, could be deadly. Their quarterback had tremendous feet. I think he rushed for 700 or 800 yards the year before in a backup role. So we knew he was dynamic. We knew he could throw the football a little bit, and they had a couple playmakers on the perimeter. So the big emphasis was, hey, let's get lined up early. Let's read our keys, and let's be efficient tacklers. And I thought that they did that. For the most part, we put them in a bad situation from a special team standpoint. Obviously, muffing a punt inside the 10, which is hard to defend. I think they took them to third down, and they scored on a third down inside the 10. But for the most part, man, those guys bowed up, and they showed up when we needed them to.
Yeah, that third quarter, have you ever seen anything like that with, I think it came out to 8 punts, and then, like I said, that turnover just sort of kept the best drive of that quarter. So you have to really be proud of how your defense held up.
Yeah, no, I've definitely seen it before. There's times within a game where there's a little bit of a stalemate, and a good defense bows up. Again, I mean, it's things where we got a guy running down the field and we just can't connect, or whatever the case may be. And again, it's early in the season, so our rhythm obviously made a huge jump from week 1 to week 2, and it's going to continue to make a huge jump. We got a number of guys that are new faces. While we brought some guys back, there's a number of guys with new faces. One thing that I don't think people realize is that there's one guy on the offensive line that is playing the same exact position that he played last year for UIW, and that's Travion Newsom. I mean, Caleb Flores is transitioning, playing right tackle for us. Our right guard, Jawan Singletary, is naturally a center, has kind of just blossomed and playing guard for us. Danny Valenzuela is playing center, and then Chantrell Key has never started a game for us at left tackle. So it's one of those things where we got to gel and we got to catch our rhythm, and I'm really excited in terms of the jump that we made from week 0 to week 1, and then the way that we're going to progress continuously through these weeks.
Absolutely. And you talk about the known, right? Jared Taylor comes in. Yeah. You hold him to only 10 carries for 3.5 yards. But the unknowns, especially that first week when they're bringing in 51 new players, what's that research process like? Do you have to make sure that none of these guys were like maybe superstar, they're all superstar high school players, but super standout players, and go back to maybe high school tape because they had 1 year where they just didn't play? Like, how does that all work when you're talking about such turnover on the roster that last year's tape might as well be useless?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's so much in the personnel world because all those players are down at this level for a reason, to be totally honest with you. So until they do it, until I see it with my own eyes and they put it on tape at Nichols or at UIW or wherever the case may be, we're really just worried about schematics. I think the majority of the players that made plays for Nichols, if that's what we're talking about, were guys that have already been in the program. One of the most impact players that they had was Joe Mason, a defensive end for him who I think is a stud. He spent the beginning of his career at Louisiana Tech and then ended up playing there, but he was a stud for those guys. We didn't play him last year due to injury. We played him in 2023, so we knew a little bit about him in terms of how impactful he could be. But the biggest thing with the week 0 game is that they came out in a defensive structure and approached us defensively in a way that we hadn't seen since 2022 when I was a position coach. So completely kind of flipped the script in terms of how they approached us over the last 2 years, which is something probably about mid-second quarter we had to scrap about half the run game plan. So we made adjustments at halftime, and then when you don't have any rhythm, you don't have any pace, and you're not operating, you're not executing, it's hard to make adjustments and go attack a good football team on the road, in the heat. A head coach that's done a great job defensively. Obviously, he's been the defensive coordinator for 2 years, and I think Rybecki does a great job. So, it's tough to do those things. Yeah,
I was definitely referencing how Eastern Washington brought in 51 players, but I suppose, you had to deal with the transfer, the first game for the other team as well, down there in Thibodaux. So, obviously, you had a double dose of that, but you pick up the win against Eastern Washington, you get this bye week, and then we get to talk about the future. So that's what the next segment's going to be about. We're going to talk about the future, what's upcoming for UIW football, not only this season, but going down the road. We had some fun announcements in the last couple of weeks that we'll catch you guys up on if you don't know about. So we'll step aside here from Pizza Classics and on YouTube, and we'll be back with more of the UIW Coach Show with Clint Killough.
Life is meant to be lived in motion, in the moment, on the go. If a sports injury or chronic pain threatens to slow you down, hold you back, or take you out of the game, Christus Health is here, right where you live, with complete personalized orthopedic care. Because you have a lot of games to play, miles to ride, and life to live. Christus Health. Your health. Your life. Our purpose.
And we are back here at Pizza Classics, not too far off the campus of UIW. It's walkable, isn't it? 5 minutes drive? Yeah, it's not bad at all. I'm terrible at geography. Thank God for GPS, Coach, because I would not know how to get anywhere if it weren't for, just Google Maps and such. Yeah. So thankful that that got me here all right. But, we teased that it's talking about the future, and I do want to start with the most immediate future being the game at the Alamo Dome next weekend. What a cool thing. I think both UIW and UTSA are really in what they would call the golden eras of their program to this point, and it really is cool to see a clash here in your hometown, which is an even cooler part of it.
Yeah, no, obviously born and raised in San Antonio, so it'll definitely be a fun day. Great opportunity for our program, for our football team, for our brand, and excited. Obviously, both programs have experienced some positives, some wins over the past few years. So it'll be a fun deal. It'll be great for the city of San Antonio. I know this place loves football, has for a long time. So excited to be a part of it.
And talking about future games that we can look forward to, just announced earlier today, if I'm not mistaken, we will be playing at Baylor McLean Stadium 2 years from tomorrow. So I just think it's cool that you're talking about being able to be respected enough to get to these levels of playing a Big 12 school and stuff like that, because they're certainly excited to take on your challenge, and they won't take you lightly.
Yeah, no doubt. Obviously, the bigger stage, the bigger the opportunity. It's great for the recruiting. It's great for the advancement of our program. And obviously, those types of opportunities come as the more successful that you are. So, we put a ton of hard work. There's been a lot of really, really quality people that have put a lot of time and effort into this program that have allowed us the opportunity to, take advantage of games like that.
And perhaps my favorite is North Dakota State Bison are going to be coming into town to start off next season. That'll be a fun one. And then y'all return up there in 2028 to start the season off up there in the tundra of North Dakota. But luckily you're getting there before it gets unbearably cold. Let's just put it that way. You were with me when we went up there for the playoff game, and it was
I
bad.
didn't know if we were going to get back.
I did. I decided to walk half a mile to the Target, and it was the biggest regret I had ever made. Like, I couldn't walk without sinking half a foot into the snow. So, but that's obviously a big name program, and they're going to travel well, and it'll be a fun time here at Benson Stadium next year to open the season.
Yeah, no, that'll be exciting. Obviously, it'll be something unique. We've talked for a long time. I remember having conversations with Coach Morris about, if we could get those guys to come down here and play us in the heat instead of going up there and playing them in the cold. So exciting. It'll be cool to see them come to the Benson Stadium. I'm sure that it'll be a little bit of a culture shock for them, but that'll be a fun one.
Yeah. Even though they play in the dome, you still got to thaw out. It takes about a quarter to really loosen up from playing them in December up there. And just now that we've kind of touched base on some of the fun stuff that's going to happen in the future, more of the present, I really want to give you a chance to talk about how you've established a culture, being part of this, or really part of the program since you were a student athlete and not too long after you joined on as a coach.
Yeah, probably a pretty big culture shift from when I was a player, to be totally honest with you. I was fortunate enough to come back in 2018 and be a part of a staff with Eric Morris at the helm that really focused on the intentionality and the relationships on a day-to-day basis. And obviously that transitioned to GJ, and then when I was able to kind of take over and run the show, I put a ton of emphasis on our relationships and our intentionality on a day-to-day basis. I think that in today's day and age, these young guys, they're like walking lie detectors, and they know when their time's being wasted. They know when their time's being spent in a quality manner. So just being intentional about how we plan their day to day, and making sure that those guys know that we can improve their skills not only on the field, but we can improve them as people off the field. And that's what we kind of focus on day to day. That's what in all areas, whether that be academics. We haven't had under a 3.0 GPA since I took over.
Oh wow!
In the spring of 23, our strength and conditioning is absolutely tremendous. You talk about guys like Jamison Garcia. Well, Jamison Garcia was developed in the offseason by Davis Conley, who puts a ton of time and effort and is probably one of the most excited people. If you go back and watch the TV copy, I'm sure you can watch Davis Conley, his excitement and his joy for the successes that we had over this past Saturday. So, just a bunch of people in our building that value winning as much as they value pouring into other people. It's that simple, to be totally honest with you. I'm not a big slogan guy. Obviously, we have the one, win with intention, which is our cultural pillar. But I'm not going to come out here and throw a bunch of different slogans at you and make this more complex than it needs to be. It's just kind of being authentic, being transparent, telling guys the truth in terms of what they need to hear to get to the places that they want to go. And we've done a really good job of that, and we're going to continue to do that. There's not going to be any fluff. We're going to be right to the point. And we're going to love the people in the building, period. Whether that's, again, whether you want to hear it or you're not, at the end of the day, you've got to know that the people in that building are coming from a good place and they care about you. And when you need them most, they'll be there. So that's what we hang our hat on in this program.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I could see that. It reflects on the field. And I always like to end the show with maybe a little bit, getting to know you a little bit better. You probably work around 100 hours a week, give or take, including your sleep schedule. What is an in-season week like for you, assuming they play on Saturday?
Okay. So we come off of a game. Sunday I'm in probably by 9. We will review the tape. Obviously, I'll watch it on my own. We'll review the tape with the players. We're into prep for the next week. I'm probably out of the office by 8 or 9, and that's just so that I can get through the remainder of the week. Alarm goes off at about 4 o'clock. I'm in the office by about 4:30, 4:45 on a Monday. Get in the weight room for about an hour, and then we will prep all the way until probably 9 or 10 o'clock on Monday. So how many hours is that? That's 7. That's about 15, 16-hour day.
Yeah.
And as soon as I go home, I hit the bed. The end of that day is prepping for a Tuesday practice. Again, up at about 4:30. We have a staff meeting at 5:50 on Tuesday. We hit a practice. I'm there till probably, again, 10 o'clock because we're game planning for our red zone day on Wednesday. Again, up at 4:30. Kind of do it all over again.
Yeah.
Again, on Thursday, up at about 4:30. We have walkthroughs on Thursday. That's where it starts to slow down to a degree. I can probably get out of the office 4 or 5 o'clock, like a normal civilian. And then we come back on Friday. I think we go at about 7:30. Again, I get up so early and I get into the office that I really don't know what time the day starts. I'm just kind of on this routine. I don't look at the clock. And then Friday we'll have an early morning practice for about an hour. It'll be light. It'll be in helmets. We'll go for about an hour, and then we're out the door and we're on the road traveling, or we kind of decompress a little bit before game time. So.
Awesome. And for you personally, like maybe you don't have to get into your personal life too much, but is there a non-negotiable that you need to do to keep sane?
Oh, man. I got to play with my daughter.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I love laying on the couch with KK. She kind of lightens the mood for me, that's for sure. But at the same point in time, when we get into the season is the season. This is who I am. This is my purpose in life. And, obviously I'll make some sarcastic comments about the workload and everything like that, but I love what I do. I got the best job in the world. I get to impact young people. I get to help them chase their dreams, and I get to compete while doing it. And so I love it. So when we're in season, that's what it is. That's the name of the game, and that's what I signed up for. In the off season, I try to be intentional about the time away and my personal life and all those sorts of things. But no, in season, I can't get enough of it. I'll take a little bit of break here and there. My agent sent me a book about Bill Parcells, about his personal life and just his biography. So I'll take some time to read on that. At least that's where I'm at right now. I do like to slow it down and read a book from here and there. But other than that, man, it's all go.
And last question, and I won't be offended if the answer is no. Do you listen to me and Sam when you watch back, just to make sure we're not saying anything wrong? Because I'm always open to feedback, Coach.
No, man. I to be totally honest with you, I don't. This past off season, one thing that I did do is I deleted all of my social media.
Okay.
To be totally honest with you, just because, and obviously we're on camera and everything, but I just the outside opinions just really don't matter.
Sure.
To be totally honest with you, I know what we do on a day-to-day basis. I understand that everybody outside the building is going to have an opinion, win, lose, or draw. But to be totally honest with you, it's pretty irrelevant because they have no clue.
No, I compared to you, I don't really have a clue what's going on. I can just describe it, but
no doubt.
Yeah.
And that's not to be negative. It's
no,
just,
I know what you mean.
It's one of those things where I just don't have the time to concern myself. If I'm going to be as intentional and genuine as I possibly can, and then I'm going to spend every single second focused on these guys, whether they're going through ups or downs. I just want to be present, you know, and you can it's so easy to get caught up in outside opinions, not just in football, but in life, what other people think of you. And that's what, all these things are meant for. And it's great, obviously, the pub, and we've had a ton of great narratives written about this program. And so I don't want to make it seem like I did it because of that. It's just at the end of the day, if we're going to focus on ourselves and we're going to be worried about the things that we can control, then that's what I'm going to do, and it's been a positive. So.
For sure. Well, you can always, listen to me on a replay of ESPN Plus if you really ever were curious
Text
what
it to
we
me.
sound
I'll watch
like.
it.
Yeah. Sounds good. I always like when they do put it out on social media, I'll retweet my highlights like Jameson Garcia's.
Yeah.
So that's always the fun part of the broadcast. Well, Coach, thank you so much. Happy that we get a chance to do this. We'll be back here at Pizza Classics. I have not done the math on the date, but the Wednesday before, September 27th, before UIW hosts Abilene Christian from the United United Conference. And we're excited to see y'all when you come back, but it's gonna be a long time before we do this game, Coach. So I'm happy we fit it in this week.
Yeah, no doubt. I appreciate you, Carl.
All right, appreciate you, Coach. All right, thank y'all for watching on YouTube. Thank y'all for being out here at Pizza Classics, and we will see y'all next time. Good night, everybody.